Two. Alrighty, good afternoon. Hope everyone is doing well. We've had quite the busy week today. Very excited for our guest today. Again, we've had a series of wonderful guests, and we've got another one to add to it today. I wish I would have realized it earlier on where I could have listened a little more in depth, but I was able to listen. But our guest today, Mr. David Bannerman, was actually on a fairly new podcast called the GWAT Goons for about 2 hours or so, doing an interview. And I'm going to link that in the show notes to where y'all can catch that if you'd like to see another interview with Mr. David. I thought it was quite well. He's got, as we're going to get into, a very illustrious and quite long career. So we're just going to go ahead and get into it. Mr. Dave, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I'm really excited.
Absolutely. It means a lot, especially getting to have you guys that are picking up the mantle from our Vietnam vet. So absolute honor to host you today, sir. Well, we kind of like to get a little bit of our backstory on our guest here. So we kind of ask the beginning, or when and where were you born?
Was born right here in Middleburg Heights, Ohio. It's like southwest of Cleveland, but we still call it Cleveland. Um, and a curious thing is that I live now 3 streets from where I was born. So I
Wow.
retired and really came back home.
Wow. That's cool.
Really
That's three blocks away. That's
cool.
right back at home. Very cool. Um Midwestern kid. Sports very big. Wrestling, all sorts of sports. Were you a big sports kid, or were you trying to be outdoors? Or
I was all over the place as a kid. I played all sports, and then in high school, kind of whittled it down to football and soccer. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I also did a fair share of being outside playing army. Um, we have some woods right down over here, and it's called the Cleveland Metro Parks. And we'd be on there digging like foxholes and overhead cover and trying to hide from people on the trails. But so we did that, and my aunts and on my dad's side, my aunts and uncles and my grandparents all had farms about an hour from here, but they all lived like one house after another, so all their property connected, and you could just go back as a kid, just go disappear in the back of the farm. I'd take my little 22 rifle with me, shoot whatever I could, squirrels, groundhogs, whatever. And we
I
could
bet
we could
now.
just shoot. So my dad taught me shooting like on the farm growing up. Like every time we went, we shot. So like I think it's interesting because I'm really now getting back into firearms, and a lot of people talk about, oh, when did you shoot or learn to shoot? Like shooting to me is like swimming. I don't know. Like it's just always been there. Like I've always been able to swim. I don't remember not swimming, and I don't remember like learning to shoot. It's just always been part of my life.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I was like country boy. I was like jock, and then in high school I was really big into a BMX freestyle.
Oh
So I
wow.
was I was all over the place with. I wasn't part of one group. I was like all over the place.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, you're not in one peer group. You were all over the place, and BMXing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That But having all that land, I'm out here in Alabama, and I'm now living where I was born and raised as well. And man, just having land to where you can go outside and not have to worry about any neighbors or anything like that, and being able to shoot and such. I can imagine as a kid that was a lot of fun for you getting to go out there and do that.
it was great. And but back to playing army, I go in hay fields. That's where groundhogs are. And I'd get hay bales. They built like a little fortress with firing positions and stuff, so I could hide from the groundhogs. But the good
That's
part, my
awesome.
aunt and uncle still live there.
Oh,
So
wow.
I can go down and shoot like whatever I want to do, shoot and move, stuff you can't do at a flat range here in Cleveland.
No, that and well, they ain't making any more land, and that's nice to
Yeah.
hear. It's still in the family because man, I'm actually debating on selling some of this, and I keep thinking, man, I need to keep all of this while I can. I'm enjoying not having anybody around me and getting to do what I want. So, with you being sports oriented and an outdoorsy kid, were you thinking about the military early on, playing army, or were you thinking of going to college first? Or
Um, I really like I saw Rambo when it first came out. I was like, that's just the coolest crap ever. And then Top Gun came out when I was in high school. I was like, I want to be a freaking fighter jet pilot. And but I had glasses, and apparently you have to have good vision to be a pilot. But I got um, I got a scholarship to play D1 soccer,
wow,
so that changed my path. Um, and so I went to Akron University, and
wow,
they were the number two team in the country when I graduated. So you get the number two team in the country recruiting you, you're you're going to go.
yeah, absolutely.
And so I went off to college. I went to play soccer, and truth be told, I went to college for one reason. That was to play sports, to play soccer. Um, Grades and all that stuff, I did not do that. So, um, I did all the other college activities except pass my classes. And apparently, you need to pass your classes to keep your scholarship. So, my college career was 2 years long, and then when I got asked to leave there, my dad said, "Well, what are you going to do?" Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Um, so while I was in college, Desert Storm kicked off, and this is kind of an important part. Desert Storm kicked off, and I was in my house, like watching it on this little TV, and I'm drinking a beer, and the feeling hit me like, man, this is really messed up. I'm sitting here drinking a beer, and guys my age are over fighting for the country. Kind of had that Vietnam vibe to it, like I'm not going to be in school and be exempt from going to war if I have to go to war. And I really felt like that was really my calling. Um, I felt like a big sense of pride watching the U.S. Army do what they did in Desert Storm, or just the military overall. So when my scholarship didn't work, go back home. My dad's like, "What's your game plan? You're not living here." I was like, "I don't know." So I did a little quick research on the military. And I saw a video on Rangers, or VHS tape on Rangers. And I was like, that's it right there. That's what I want to do. And yeah, if I'm going too fast, just let me know. But
No, no,
um, so, like I always say, I was a recruiter's dream, because I walked into his office and I was like, "Hey, I want to join the army. I want to be a ranger." He's like, "When?" I'm like, "Right today. Like, I want to do it today." He was like, "Well, it doesn't quite work like that. Like, you got to take the ASVAB and do all that other stuff." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking. Let's do this thing."
let's get it going.
And so it was like, it took me probably half my career to figure out that the recruiter didn't lie to me. The MEPS guy lied to me, because I went up to MEPS and I passed the GT score really well. And I get up there and he's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "I want to be an Army Ranger." He taps away on his computer. He says, "We don't have that. How about a heavy wheel mechanic?" Like, I can remember his conversation. I'm like, "No, I want to be a Ranger." Text again. "Oh yeah, we don't have any openings. How about a light wheel mechanic?" I'm like, "What is this mechanic thing?" And I'm like, "Well, if I can't be a Ranger, I want to be airborne infantry at least." He whacks away his computer. "Oh, yep, don't have that either." I'm like, well, I want to be infantry. He's whacks his computer and he's like, here we go, 11 X-ray. I'm like, okay, what's that? Now, come to find out later when I got to basic, he sells it with 11 X-ray. You could do any infantry job. You could be stationed wherever. And he makes it sound real cool. Like I'm going to do all this, pick and choose what I'm going to do. And what 11 X-ray means is when you go to basic, they put you needs of the Army, 11 Mike, 11, they had 11 hotels back then, 11 Charlie, whatever it is. And luckily, so I didn't know. Oh, and he told me, oh, you'll see the Ranger recruiter in basic. And I never saw a Ranger recruiter in basic. So, but I did, when I was at the 30th AG there, I did meet the old guard recruiter. Because I'm 6'3", you have to have over a 110 GT score or whatever. Wow. And he comes in, shows us this cool video of the old guard, the tomb, the drill team, all that cool stuff. He says, this is how we go to the field. And he shows like charter buses that have the old guard written on the side. He goes, that's how we go to the field. And I'm like, that's sounding pretty good. And it's like, so if you sign up with me, I guarantee you a duty station, I guarantee you MMS or MOS, and your location. And if you don't, then the drill sergeants or the Army is just going to send you where you want. I was like, old guard it is then. And so I went to old guard. I never did see a Ranger recruiter, which is funny because later in my career I figured out that they do that. I just never saw one.
When did you officially join the military? I forgot.
1991.
1991.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I completely forgot to ask that. So what the old guard is that? That's what it's known as colloquially, if you will. What is its actual military designation? Is it 3rd Infantry or
3rd U.S. Infantry? The old guard. That's the official title. It's weird. Like the history, I don't remember all the history, but it used to be part of a regiment, and one of the battalions got wiped out in Vietnam. There's some crazy thing, and the third regiment was still around, or something like that. But so it's the 3rd U.S. Infantry, the old guard, is the official name of it. And then within the old guard, you have the tomb guard you just showed. You have the Army drill team. You have Continental Color Guard that do like the Super Bowls, World Series, all that stuff. And then I was in what's called the 1st Presidential Marching Platoon. So to be in the old guard, you have to be 5'10" is a minimum height. And to be in the Presidential Marching Platoon, you have to be 6'3". That was cool. I mean, I joke around that I have PTSD from shining brass and boots and pressing uniforms. But it was cool as a 19-year-old kid being there in D.C. and like we did like my first big ceremony. The SecDef was there, and big like the chief of staff of the Army, and all these people are there, and the cannons are going off, and I'm like, dang, this is pretty freaking cool, man. This must be really important. And then you find out you do that at the end of every month, so it's not really that important. But with the Presidential Marching Platoon, we also do all the we did all the stuff at the White House, the Pentagon, National Archives, stuff like that. And you had to have, so I had a TS clearance going all the way back to when I was a private, because we did work around the president and all the, chief of staffs and vice president, everybody. So you had to have a TS clearance just to be in my platoon. So I had that for a long time. So it was really interesting. It was cool. Now here's where my career takes another spin. I get to the old guard, and my first squad leader, his name is Ronnie Johnson. He was a staff sergeant. He retired a full bird. So Ronnie Johnson was my squad leader, and what's important about that, he had a Ranger combat patch, CIB combat jump wings. And I was just like, oh my God, you are a god. Like, and as a new private coming in, he says, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to be like you. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I want to be a ranger. And he's like, okay. And he took me under his wing, gave me a ranger handbook, and basically trained me and treated me like I was a ranger private, not an old guard private, if that makes sense, because he was kind of hard on me, like knowledge wise, and it just
Getting
he
you
didn't
ready.
smoke. He didn't smoke me or mess with anything. He was just getting me mentally prepared for where I'm going to go. Like I had the Ranger Creed memorized long before I went to RIP and stuff like that. And so you're talking about you haven't had anyone from the old guard. So Ronnie Johnson was a Ranger, went to the old guard, and then he got commissioned, and he came back to First Battalion. So so there's another old guard guy, and then when I went up to 27, I'm just skipping for the old guard. When I went up to Second Battalion, my second platoon leader, me and him were enlisted together in the old guard, both in Echo Company at the same time. But now he's my lieutenant. I'm going to tell you what, man, that was a crew right there. But and then when I was first sergeant, one of my platoon sergeants was a tomb guard from the old guard. So it's like I had a squad leader, a platoon leader, and one of my platoon sergeants when I was a first sergeant, all from the old guard. And that's pretty much like everybody in regiment that was from the old guard. We were all together. So it was kind of funny.
Small world, man.
It turned out to be a small world. And the reason I knew my platoon sergeant, because when he got there a few years before, like he did the same thing I did. He went to the old guard, did his time there, and then went to RIP and regiment. So when he got to battalion, he got his tomb guard badge. And I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's like the second rarest badge in the Army behind the astronaut badge.
Wow.
So I was a staff sergeant when he got there as a specialist. And people pointed out real fast to me, hey, there's a guy from the old guard right here. I had to go mandatory mess with him, we actually we're friends to this day. But yeah, so it was just a weird twist of the old guard just tied into things.
That's so
throughout
cool.
my whole career, and then my company commander. I'm sorry, my company commander when he left regiment, and he did whatever he did as a major, then he got lieutenant colonel. He was battalion commander in the old guard.
Jeez.
So
it's almost like an exchange program over there.
It really was.
So with you already having a bit of a rabbi in parlance for the Rangers, when do you have to wait to attend or volunteer for the Rangers until your assignment with the old guard is up, or how is that?
Yeah, so you're pretty much on it. And I won't go to the story. Basically, Ronnie Johnson sent me over to the personnel branch, told me to look for this guy, Sergeant Durkin, tell him I want to be a Ranger right now. And I found him, I said that. And he goes, oh, you must be Ronnie's guy. And he made me do a bunch of tasks around the office and all this shit. And he's like, all right, when do you want to be a Ranger? Same answer as basic training, as soon as you can. And he's like, all right, I got a class starting the first of next month. Like, heck yeah. So what it was is, just like you said, I did volunteer for the old guard, so I did have to do my 18 months in the old guard. So I actually went to RIP on my 16th month. And this is really weird because everyone, 99.9% of the people that go to RIP leave RIP and go right to their battalions.
Mm.
But I left RIP, went back to DC, for for um, for a move because I'm married and all this. So when I showed up down to Savannah in First Battalion, I was like by myself. My class had already been assigned to their companies, and here comes this guy,
Lone straggler in there.
Lone Straggler, and then I'm telling you, you got me thinking all kinds of things. So Ronnie Johnson called ahead to Bravo Company to his buddy that was a third platoon sergeant in Bravo Company. And Ronnie told me when I got the pack to tell them that I'm going to Bravo Company, third platoon. Roger that. I'll do that. So I get the pack, report in, do all this. And I said, the pack sergeant, pack NCOC, I said, I'm supposed to go to Bravo Company, third platoon. Who the fuck do you think you're talking? You're telling me where you think you're going? And it just started. The smoking started. Everyone coming out of the walls to get me. This guy thinks he's going to tell us where he's going and all this. And then I remembered he told me if they have a problem with it, tell them to call Sergeant First Class Mitchell. So I was in the front line arrest. I'm like, Sergeant, call Sergeant First Class Mitchell. I'm like tapping out. So they call Sergeant Mitchell, Josh Mitchell. He's rest in peace now, but he comes over. And he's like, yeah, he's coming with me to third platoon. And I was like, oh, thank God. And he freaks me out. I wanted to say something so bad to those guys, like, I told you so or whatever, but I was just happy to be out of the freaking crosshairs, just to walk into a whole new set of crosshairs. Because when I got there, mind you, I had my EIB, my jump wings, the old air assault wings, which is a dead giveaway that you're an import. An import's someone that doesn't start in regiment but comes later. And the Rangers don't go to air assault school. So if I would just took off the air assault badge, I would just look like a non-tab specialist. People would have been really confused, but not me. I'm rocking my air assault wings. That was just a big freaking target right on my pocket. So that was fun. That was a good time.
How old were you coming into the Ranger?
Oh, so I was 21 when I got there.
Oh man.
So I was 21, already been in the Army for 18 months. So I was in the old guard long enough not to be the new guy anymore, just to come to battalion and be the freaking new guy again. Yeah. I had to come in the middle of the night to buff the floors because I was married and lived off post, but I was still a non-tab, specialist. So until you go to Ranger School, you got to do all the bullshit details, buff the floors, do this, do that, whatever. So yeah, I'd have to tell my wife, like, oh, I got to go. It's 2:00. I got to go buff the floors.
How long were you having to do all of these all of these tasks until you got a slot to go through?
Well, that was a good thing for me. Was Sergeant Mitchell realized in my career path I should have already gone to Ranger School. Like if I was in battalion, I would have already gone to Ranger School. So basically, I had to go 6 months, kind of like probation, to make sure I'm not a piece of crap and physically fit and all that. And at 6 months, they sent me to Ranger School, which is, and people were upset about that because they've been there longer, and privates or other specialists, they don't understand that, in my career path, I need to go to school or I'm going to be behind my peers. So yeah, I waited 6 months and then went to Ranger School.
And
1194 was my class.
Okay. And were they doing pre-Ranger school?
You have pre-Ranger. They still do it. So you go back to regiment. You go through the pre-Ranger course. It's 3 weeks, and it's like a kick your ass phase, but you also get to eat and sleep. But you're just like
beat the hell out of you.
Yeah, but they make you eat all the food. They tell you 2 months from now you're going to wish you had this food, which was true. But But pre-ranger is good. You learn the op order. Like we're learning op orders as E3s and E4s more thorough than lieutenants knew them. You know, like we were experts on the op order. So you go right from pre-ranger over to ranger school. You literally get there in the morning of day one for the PT test with your bags. I think nowadays they have like a week 0 or something with ranger school that they do all the prelim stuff. I'm not sure. I'm totally not sure. But so yeah, we show up as a class. Um, no identifying stuff on the uniforms, and off we go into ranger school. Um,
And
yeah. And
is it as tough as we've all heard from everybody?
okay, so I went to ranger school. There was a desert phase. So I went to ranger school. It was a whole phase longer than it is now. So that inherently makes it harder. Okay, like that alone makes it harder. You're doing a whole other phase.
Oh yeah.
It was 72 days. Now it's what, 62 days or something. But it was 72 days. Um, so I can say that's legitimately true. When I went through, you got 3 MREs for 3 days, and my dumbass would eat 2 MREs on the first day and then starve the rest of them because I just couldn't help it. I just could not help it. But now they get 2 meals a day and a bread packet or something like that. That's easier. I mean, it's just realistically easier. Our movements to and from the objective were about 10 Ks to the objective, then 10 Ks to the next patrol base. Now I think they don't do anything over 5 Ks. So I'm not saying I went to the last hard class, but it was
harder.
like the group. I mean, the peers before me, because I went to Fort Bliss, Texas, for desert phase. Like the guys who went to Dugaway, basically just don't die and you'll make it through. Like,
Hey.
those guys definitely had it worse than I had it. And I'll admit it. I'm glad I didn't go during that time. But
When did they stop the desert phase?
desert phase stopped, and this was great. They stopped desert phase, I think, in '95. It was shortly after I was there. Um, the and I believe, well, they said it cost too much to fly Rangers from Fort Benning because it's Benning Desert Mountains. It cost too much for transportation and everything else, even if you jump in. And then someone said that the Rangers won't ever fight in the desert or something like that. Which, if that's true, that was a really bad call. But anyhow, they cut out the phase. I think it was '95. So yeah, there's that. And I liked Desert Phase so much. I did it 3 times. That's how much I liked
it. 3 times.
Yeah, I got recycled. Probably rightfully so my first time. And then when I recycled, the group that came in had a bunch of Rangers, like battalion guys in it. And I was in a different Ranger company. And every time we got, now there's something happened, and I was too low on the totem pole to understand it. But every time we were in the chain of command, it was all Ranger battalion guys. And then no matter what we did, that mission went to shit. And we all got no-goes. And then the next chain of command, it's a bunch of Ranger guys, we all get no-goes. So out of the 25 guys that went through, from regiment that were there, 20 of us got recommended to be dropped. Like, that's just unheard of. Like, unheard of. So we were like, I'm like, that's it. I'm getting kicked out of the regiment. I didn't even do anything. Like, because if you get kicked out of Ranger school, that's pretty much it for you. Something happened. Probably the battalion sergeant major or regimental sergeant major found out that 20 of his guys are getting recommended for drop, and they probably did whatever, and they didn't drop us, but we had to start over again. So yeah, some something screwy was there, like some RI didn't like battalion guys, or maybe he got kicked out of battalion. Someone had a thing for us in that one, but after that, I went straight through. So
And is desert the final phase in Ranger School?
desert was the first or second phase.
Oh,
So
wow.
You did Darby at squad level, and it made really good sense. Like when they did it, you did squad level at Darby, and then went out to the desert, and you started your platoon operations. And why I said it makes sense is when you're learning and you're doing platoon level operations, you can actually see like everybody. You can see a platoon wedge, what it looks like, actually on the ground because you can see everybody. Or you're doing a raid, like you can physically see support by fire and watch them go in. It was just I thought it was a good learning experience to jump in, start platoon level operations in desert, because that then got you ready for mountain phase, um, where you're still doing everything from there on is platoon level. But it's yeah, it was Ranger school's hard. I'm not, it's just no way about it. Like, you know, it is a leadership school, but you learn about yourself, what it takes what it takes for you sucking and hurting to be able to lead other people that are sucking and hurting. Um, and used to have a percentage, but it's like, in Ranger school, it's like 30% what you do, 40% what your buddies do, then 20% luck, or something like. Because you could be great, but if your buddies fall asleep while you're on patrol, or something like that, then your buddies screw you, and you can't you're getting a no go because your buddies didn't square you away. But it is hard, the loads were crazy heavy. I don't know how heavy they are now. I just remember one guy, he was like the platoon headquarters, carried so much crap in desert. We had the big camo nets and all this. This guy went to stand up with his rucksack and literally blew a nut out. He just, like,
Oh,
I was the platoon medic, and he was the platoon FO. They were sitting like side by side together, and we're going to move out. And I get up, and he gets up. He's like, "Oh!" He's like, "Something's wrong," and he just goes down. Yeah, he busted his nut trying to stand up with his rucksack.
that was a bad day.
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad.
Oh,
Um,
man.
but I don't know, man. RIP. We didn't even talk about RIP. RIP is just it's going to break your soul, and that's what it's designed for. It's to see who's going to quit, and you're going to be pushed that limit. I think everybody is going to be pushed that limit because the cadre learn they're figuring it out. They're going to try to break you. Um, some people just break because of the weather, or they don't like being yelled at. But it's just a big suck fest. Um, see who quits and who doesn't quit. And historically, and it's still true to this day, 70% attrition rate in RIP.
Jeez. Boy,
It's
that
just
lets you know right off the bat it's a
and
smoker.
yeah, because I know I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but I was a RIP cadre later on after my squadron time, so I went back to RIP. And if we had a 100-man class, we'd graduate 30. If we had a 30-man class, we'd graduate 10. I mean, it was really, no kidding, worked out like that every time. And we ran the class. The class is the same. The BOI, the instruction was the same for everyone. Like, um,
Been fun into a fine course after
right.
many courses run through it.
Yeah, it was definitely, day one is this, day two is this, day three is this. Um, during this time in day three, between night and land nav and day land nav, physical activity, um, and every ranger's hit the wood line. If they don't know what that is, they're never a ranger, because hitting the wood line, it's about a 500-yard sprint, and it happened to me, and I did it as cadre. they'd screw up, be like, hit the wood line, and you got to run your ass down there, and then you got to pick up a stick, and you got to bring it back and throw it in the fire pit. And so that was the deal. So
Right.
if you tell a ranger, if someone says they're a ranger, ask them if they hit the wood line. If they say what or don't know what you're talking about, that's a pretty telltale sign. So yeah, but yeah, that puts RIP all together. I worked there, and the job that got done to me when I was going through it is the same job that I did being cadre there, but you get to see it from the other side. Um, so
What
yeah, go ahead.
what was your after you got through RIP and then Ranger school, what's the next step for an aspiring new battalion guy?
So while I was in Ranger school, I want to start off with you hear a lot of horror stories when you're new, but I did like I said, I came in as an import, so I was just getting hammered by other spec fours or team leaders. But my team leader was my team leader was like the perfect picture perfect team leader. Like in Full Metal Jacket, he's like he'll teach you everything. He'll teach you how to pee. Like he literally would like this is how you rig this piece of equipment specifically so it doesn't do this when you're doing this, or something, like break it down like this is he had a reason for all these little nuances of things, and it wasn't messing with me. It's like teaching me, training me,
Mhm.
with stuff. So he definitely took care of me, got me ready for Ranger School in 6 months. So that's pretty good on him. But yeah, so I went to Ranger School, came back. While I was in Ranger School, they moved me to Weapons Squad. So I wasn't even in that third squad anymore when I got back. It was Weapons Squad, and at the time they called it a God Squad because all 9 guys in the squad had Ranger tabs. So I came back and went to Weapons Squad as a tabbed assistant or ammo bearer, which is a low man on a gun team because you got ammo bearer, assistant gunner, and gunner. Um, there I was, the low man on the totem pole in Weapons Squad, and people turn over pretty quick. Got up to AG, got up to gunner, senior gunner, and this is something I carried on through my career when I got to be a platoon sergeant, first sergeant. The way our platoon worked it is when you got to be senior gunner, that meant you were the senior spec 4 in the platoon. So you were the next line team leader. So you knew so you had your 6 team leaders, and then the gunner was like the 7th one. So if you got a team leader get promoted up to E6, that machine gunner is going to that squad, and it just rotated that way. And he's got the most experience too. So I was a weapon squad the rest of my time, and then I got let's see. Oh, I went to the board, E5 board, and then I got moved to first platoon. Um, it was just a little thing. People say yes and no about it, but our company's little SOP, if you will, when you got promoted to an NCO, you had to change platoons, so you weren't there with your Spec 4 buddies.
Mm.
Because it is hard. Like you get promoted to E5, and just yesterday, this was Bob. Now he's freaking, you know, Sergeant Bob. So it's like um, that might have been a good thing to move platoons. So I did. I moved to first platoon. Um, Became a team leader there. Um, went to what it's called. It's got a different name now, but went to a PLDC primary leadership course to be an E5.
Oh, wow.
Um, and what sucked during there, I mean, don't forget all during this time, we're training. Like we're training every day. We're doing the shootouts, we're doing ranges, we're doing jumps, we're doing ball, what we call bilats. That's where you're working with the Air Force and the 160th guys training on all that stuff. Um, at one point, we were getting ready for Haiti.
Oh,
Went down to Eglin Air Force Base, and those, I tell you what, I don't know if it was CBs, Army engineers, whoever it was, they built an entire mock-up of the Capitol, like the whole block or the whole square of the Capitol, all the buildings, everything. They built it, and every night we'd fly in, we'd do the raid, take down the Capitol, do this, do that. Um, I think we did it for like 30 nights in a row. Like it was just Groundhog Day, and after each iteration, the powers that be would thank God we didn't have drones back then, because as it was, they're like, this guy in this corner needs to move to that corner, like totally trying to choreograph it like that. But if they had drones, man, we'd have been just dancing out there for them. But so we called it Groundhog Day because it really was. You wake up, you do PT, go to chow, get yourself ready for the night, go do it all night, get back in the morning, like just over and over, 30 days. And obviously, well, then Haiti didn't happen. It just went away. Um, Back to business as usual. So while I was in PLDC, you can use phones and stuff in PLDC. So someone called back to the battalion and they said, yeah, we're getting ready for Haiti or something like on those lines. But they did. They deployed to the USS America um, and sitting right outside of Haiti. And we're like, well, wait a minute. Should we come home? We got to come home, right? Like, you're not going to go to war without us. And sure as shit, like the PLDC commandant comes out, gets all the Rangers together. He's like, okay, first battalion deployed, and you guys are staying here and finish the course. It's like, what the hell? Like, we're all team leaders. You just said, screw you guys. But that was actually probably a good miss. They were on the aircraft carrier for over a month
oh,
and stayed there just in case it came back around. But that doesn't sound like a very good time.
no.
So I may have gotten over on that one. But after Haiti, we were just training for the next thing that could happen. Uh, just trying to plan for South America. And I said this on the other interview, but it's kind of funny. But so yeah, let me back up. So I went to first platoon, and I was an E5, and we did platoon X tabs. That's where you go out as a platoon, and you have external evaluators evaluate your platoon. It's like a grading system, and so we do that. Ours goes pretty well. We had pretty, platoons go up and down, personnel in and out. We had a pretty tight platoon at that time, so we did good. Um, we got out of the field, and I was cleaning weapons, like still camming up from our field, like because you clean weapons before you do anything. Um, so I was still dirty, camming up, whatever, and I was an E5, and platoon sergeant says, "Hey, sergeant major wants to see you." I'm like, "Oh, this can't be good. Like, why does a sergeant major want to see me?" Um, so he come in his office, same Sergeant Major Mellinger. He's kind of like a living legend. He was like the last person to retire that was drafted for Vietnam, 35 years of service or something like that. But so he calls me in his office. He's like, "Yeah, your platoon did well. You got really good spots and all this stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, things went pretty well." He goes, "Well, you're moving to Alpha Company." I'm like, "Why am I moving to Alpha Company?" He goes, "You're going to take Weapon Squad, 3rd Platoon Alpha Company." I'm like, and that's a senior position. I'm a relatively new E5. I'm like, Sergeant Major, like, there's got to be other staff sergeants that are better for that job. Like, I just wasn't like mentally in that ball game. And he goes, "Nope." He goes, "I'm sending you to the worst platoon, to the most fucked up squad in battalion, and you're going to fix it." okay, like that's good. But as a leader, you want to be challenged. Um, and I guess I took on that challenge. Took over weapon squad, and they had shit canned all the squad leaders. So all four squad leaders were all E5s. Um, we were all E5s, and I was the senior E5, if there's such a thing. Um, so it was yeah, we were a young platoon and basically started from scratch. I fired the platoon sergeant, fired the squad leaders, and we took it over. And it took maybe a year or so, but we got that platoon humming really good. Um, I got promoted to E6 there. Um, it was an interesting time because oh yeah, Somalia went down, um, and that started to change our way of thinking because, like, yeah, I know you do a lot of MACV-SOG guys, but literally, we were wearing the same equipment as they wore in Vietnam in 1998. Like LCEs, rucksacks, the same stuff that they had is what we had. Like, we didn't progress anywhere. Um, so during that time, we started getting night vision, and then we got to own the night. That was our whole thing: own the night. Um, and then, like, when Somalia happened, it was just a total shift. Like, now we're wearing body armor. We didn't wear body armor. Um, we're doing, when we did live fires, we didn't wear a helmet. Just PC and the LBE and did live fires. Um, so now we're wearing this body armor, and that's a whole new thing. And the techniques that we were learning before were Vietnam techniques, like inter and exit the wire, patrol base activities, which we still used. But that about 98 is when we finally started changing. I think we got the M4s in like 96, and we got the 240 Golfs at the time in 95. And that was cool because we were testing the Golf against the M60E or M60E3 to see which one we wanted. And they basically gave us three 240. Why it was a Golf, not a Bravo, is because they basically took the 240 off the tank, took off the butterfly grip, put on a buttstock, and then it was ground. So it was a 240 ground version, um, not on a tank version. And so it was kind of cool. We got to, like, try to bust them, shoot thousands of rounds through them without cleaning them, or throw them down the stairs. Total torture test. Um, throw dirt in them, see if they feed. But this is one thing not many people know is why the Army chose the 240 over the M60E3 comes down to this. The 240 came with a indirect fire kit, like a mortar.
Oh,
So it had a tall tripod, it had the mortar sight, right? And you could fire 7.62 indirect fire. And that is like the higher ups thought that was just like the coolest thing ever, that you could have a support by fire behind a hill and suppress the objective from over a hill. Like, that was the ceiling, that was it. Like the cat's ass right there. And when we got them, we didn't even get the kits with them or nothing. Like, and I remember, yeah. So we got one kit though, and someone figured out that you could use it, but because it's tall tripod, you could take off like the mortar sight or whatever, and then you could use it like I hate to say like the Germans, but you could be up on a knee instead of in the prone. You could be on a knee with that tall tripod and shoot. It's pretty cool. But we had one. I don't even know where that came from. But yeah, that's where the 240 came from, people. It had indirect fire capability.
holy crap! That is crazy. I've
And
never
it ended up being a
never
better gun, but go ahead.
Nah, I'd never heard of that indirect fire thing. That is that's pretty wild.
Yep, yep, that was.
Uh, and you had mentioned going to the Ranger Indoctrination Program. Was this around this time to when you went
Yeah,
to?
so that's exactly, you're right on it, man. So I got E6. I was weapons squad leader for 3 years, um, and like I, I had a full career, and just things happened like perfect timing. It was always like right timing. So I had my daughter already, and everything's fine there. And then we're good to try again. And I remember, so my wife was like really sick, and I'm just like, we got to go to the hospital because her morning sickness was like all day long. So I take her to the hospital, and the doctor's like, well, you might as well take your daughter home because she was only like 16 months old at the time or something like that. And he's like, we'll call you when we're ready to have you pick her up. So I take my daughter home. They call me like, oh, you can come pick up your wife. So I go in there, and the doctor goes, you might want to sit down.
Oh,
I'm thinking, oh shit, like something, something wrong, you know. And so I sat down. He's like, the reason she's so sick is she's eating for two. And right there, I'm thinking, yeah, she's eating her for her and the baby. And he goes, you're having twins. And I didn't notice like all the nurses were packed on the door, but I said, no, I'm not even lying. He said, you're having twins. I said, you got to be fucking kidding me. It's like, you know how hard it is to have kids and a ranger and let alone have twins. Oh man. And right there, I'm just starting a freaking war game. I'm like, how am I going to do this? I can't be here. Like, I'm going to have to do something where I can be home to help my wife with the kids. Um, and at that same time, a RIP instructor spot opened up. I'm like, I'll do it because RIP cadre, you only go away. Like at that time, you only went away twice a year. For we had to. They probably still have, but Team Black and Team Gold. One was the battalion commander or regimental commander's team. One was the XO's team, and they deploy for big training stuff like twice a year. So it's no big deal. Otherwise, you spend maybe 2 nights a week out in the field with the Rippies. So I was at RIP, and this is another cool story of awesome leadership. Just like I had such opportunity to have such awesome leaders. Um, so my wife ends up going into preterm labor, um, and the I forget the name of the hospital at Benning, but they gave her the medicine to like make the contractions go faster, and they were supposed to give her ones to make it go slower. So now we're in an ambulance, rushing to um, Columbus Medical Center or whatever, and we almost lost our kid. We almost lost the boys, um, but so everything's settled. I'm not lying to you. The first person that comes in the morning is a regimental sergeant major. Now here I'm just a staff sergeant, right? I'm just a staff sergeant, RIP cadre, and here comes the regimental sergeant major, the first person to come see me in the hospital, and we're talking, explain to everything that's going on. He goes, well, you know what? This is your place of duty until this all works out. And I'm like, sorry, Major, can you let my chain of command know that? Because I'm not going to be to work tomorrow. But he, he he took care of me, and then his wife came in later that day. Those were him and his wife, the regimental sergeant major. His name's Michael T. Hall. Um, he's just a legend. He is a legend. He is the man. Um, in fact, he still works. He's been retired. Um, he's so awesome that McChrystal brought him out of retirement to active duty to be his sergeant major. Like
holy cow!
Yeah, so he's retired. He's done his time. Sergeant Major or McChrystal's like, no active duty sergeant major is good enough for me. I want Mike Hall, and they put him back on active duty to be McChrystal's sergeant major. But he's still today every RASP 2 class. That's the NCOs and officers. He goes to every board, and he's a member of the board every time. So he's just awesome. So just another person, another awesome person in the chain of command. So yeah, I worked my RIP time, and it's a 3-year deal. That's just how it's going to happen for anyone. I got promoted to E7 while I worked at RIP. So my time was up. Now things start getting sketchy in the regiment. There's a bunch of E6 positions. But E7, that pyramid starts to get a little bit smaller. And they said I could go up to 2nd Battalion. Wait, yeah, I can go to 2nd Battalion and take a platoon there. Okay, I mean, I really wanted to go back to 1st. Actually, I thought I'd just go to 3rd Battalion, which is literally across the street from RIP, and I thought that'd have been nice because we already had a house and everything. But so I went up to 2nd Battalion, took over Alpha Company 3rd Platoon, Earth Pigs, by the way, right here. That's us, right here, Earth Pigs. In 2nd Battalion, the platoons have names. We didn't do that in 1st, but we were the Earth Pigs. You had Black Sheep. That's Tillman's platoon was the Black Sheep. Then you had the Bad Mothers as 1st platoon. But yeah, they take pride and joy in their names. And I figured it out after a while. But so I got there in May of 2001. Just enough time to figure out where the Chawa was, and 9/11 happened. 9/11. So I mean, I was only there for a few months, and off 9/11 happened, and we were going. Like we were ready to go. And that's the first time. Obviously we're ready. Like we're always ready to go, but like our country just got attacked. Like let's go fight somebody right now. Like there needs to be people dying tonight. But no, we didn't know what we didn't know, and I'm not saying us. Just the whole nobody knew what was next. If you remember that, nobody knew what was next. So what we did is we deployed to Jordan at September 30th. We deployed to Jordan. Another company went to like Poland. Another company went somewhere else. So we were like forward deployed, but not, just closer proximity to the Middle East. You figured that's where we're going, And so we were at Chow. We had satellite TV, and this story sucks, but we were on RF1. RF1 is Ready Force One, means you're the ones that are going to go. So we were on RF1 when the 9/11 happened. And we were on the 8-hour string. You have an 18-hour string, and then you have an 8-hour string. That rotates by company. We were on the 8-hour string when it happened. So we're in Jordan, figuring out, like we're literally looking into Iraq. Like we're on the Iraqi border. And we're at Chow, me and the other platoon sergeants, watching TV. Can't hear anything, but you see that footage that everyone's seen of Objective Rhino, that C-130 flying over and the parachutes coming out. And we're like, what's going on here? Like this, who's that? So we run over to our first sergeant. Like, first sergeant, someone's jumping into Afghanistan right now. What's going on? He's like, yeah, it's 3rd Battalion. What? But we're like a helicopter ride away, It's like, dang, 3rd Battalion again. They always they always get the cool stuff. But so yeah, we stayed in Jordan, then we came home. Um,
Dang, just like that, even with them jumping, y'all didn't get
no,
any push in or anything. It was right back stateside like that.
yeah, we just flew home. No one really knew how this was going to work because even the guys that jumped in left. Um, so we're just kind of back at Fort Lewis training, just doing Ranger training. Because we had nothing that, well, we did. We had a Yakima, Washington, which is like high desert um, training area we got, but like there's nothing modeled after the Middle East or anything like that. All our mount sites were like bombed out European cities. Not that you can't train mount anywhere else, but we had nothing to do there. So they got word that our Bravo company was going to deploy, just Bravo company, and like that was never deploying a company was never a thing when I was like coming along. It was always a battalion. Um, so Bravo companies getting deployed by themselves. Like, what the hell? Like, how come they're getting to go? Everybody wants to see the dragon. And well, we get word that my platoon we're going to go augment Bravo company. So we go to Kandahar, and there's like nothing at Kandahar. I mean, we're living in GP medium tents with dirt floors. There's just it's nothing there yet. Not like I don't know if you heard what it was when we left. There's like McDonald's and Pizza Hut
Oh yeah.
stores and all that stuff, but there was like nothing, and we didn't know what to do. So somehow I don't even know how we got. I'm a damn platoon sergeant. Somehow we got Humvees. I figured why ask. Um, and we didn't have Humvees. We had back then we had what's called the Arsov, which was a Land Rover that we didn't even take with us. Um, so we got some Humvees, and we don't know what to do. Like, so we're just going to roll around Kandahar and look for Bin Laden. I mean, it's like that's all we know is Bin Laden's in Afghanistan, and like you don't know who Taliban is. Everyone looks the same. So we're just like kind of patrolling Kandahar, waiting to get in a fight. I guess like there was no plan. There's no like target set. There's no anything. Like by the time I left, you had freaking maps with people's names all over it and tied together. But yeah, for that first deployment, we just drove around and played a lot of horseshoes. Um, Never got in a gunfight. Nothing.
Dang.
We put like our big success was we made brick sidewalks between our tents.
Jeez.
We did nothing. And Bravo Company was up in Bagram, and they really didn't do nothing at that time. I'm sorry, no, they did establish Skin, the outpost in Skin. They did establish that. Um, so that was kind of getting it going. Um,
Yeah.
do that deployment. What's that?
No, I was just saying your first two times in is slow goings.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's like, man, this kind of sucks. So now they're talking about rotations. Like rotations are starting to come up. Like, okay, we're going to rotate companies every so often, or it was like every 4 months, change companies. Like so, like First Battalion would rotate A, B, and C, and then come home, and then it hit Second Battalion A, B, C, and Third Battalion, etc. So we were going on our second. Well, it was time for the second deployment, and at that time, Charlie Company this is just the way it worked out. Charlie Company had the senior first sergeant and a senior company commander, which means they're the senior company, so they're gonna be able to launch by themselves. And here we are again, watching them leave. Bye bye, go to war. It was about 2 weeks later. They said, "Well, Third Platoon Alpha Company, you're going with them," because we were the senior platoon. I was the senior platoon sergeant. My PL from the old guard was the senior PL. I can back up a little funny story. So my first time there, before we left, like between 9/11 and that, we did a demonstration for President Bush, like a capabilities demonstration at Fort Bragg, and then we had lunch with him, and he came around and talked to all of us and everything. It was really low key. He did mention, like, he was talking to us, and he's like, "I'm going to get you guys over there as soon as we can," and all this, kind of stuff. And so when we did go to Kandahar on our first deployment, we took a company picture with a sign that said "GW's Rangers." Uh, this is such a funny story. I got to share it. So the company commander is like, "Okay, everybody flip off the camera." So everyone flips off the camera and take a picture. He's like, "Good. Now everyone's got it out of the system because people got to flip off the camera, right?" He's like, "All right, good. Now this picture is going to the president." So, don't fuck around or whatever. So we take the picture. Whatever. It's all done. So I'm hanging out in my tent, and my first sergeant comes in. He's like, "Hey, where's your platoon leader?" I don't know. It's not my turn to watch him. He's like, "Well, you see him. You tell him the commander wants to see him." All right. All right. So he comes in tent. I'm like, "Hey, CO wants to see you." So he goes up. And of course, what do? I follow because I'm going to go talk to the first sergeant, figure out what's going on. And he's like, "Your boy flipped off the camera." I'm like, "No way." He goes, I go, "Even after the CO said, get it out of your system, all that." He's like, "Yeah, he flipped off the camera." I mean, it sounds really little, but this is where this guy gets screwed. Company commander has his laptop, with the lid closed or halfway down. And he goes, Did you flip off the camera?" He's like, "No, sir." He goes, "You didn't flip off the camera." He's like, "No, sir, I did not." And he brings up his laptop and it zoomed in on him. And he's holding his weapon with his middle finger out, not his trigger finger, his middle finger. He's like, "Oh, well, that's how I hold my weapon," or whatever. Like, he's just him hauling around. And whatever else happened, he was fired on the spot, like on the spot. He got his bags out of my tent and got the next plane smoking. It was gone.
Dang.
And I mean, that fast, which is good because he was a shitty PL. Like, we escort my NCOs. We did not want to go to war with this guy. Insert my buddy from the old guard, mid deployment, and it was awesome. But so that was just a funny story. I mean, just they flipped off the camera
on the spot. That is crazy.
Oh yeah, right down the spot. I was like, damn. But so my new platoon leader gets there, Rich Satterlin. He's actually one of the two people I still know that's in the Army. He's the chief of staff for the 18th Airborne Corps. He must be gone because he had texted me or answered my messages for a while. But so we got a good thing going. Great training, great train up. They call our platoon to go over. We were really not sure what we're going to do with my platoon. So they put us on QRF because they had two platoons up in Kaust and Shkin. And this is before Kaust is what Kaust was when we left. Kaust was huge. It was a huge place. But they literally went up there and made Kaust. And I forget what the third platoon was. But anyway, so we're QRF. And we get alerted for a QRF mission. Went up to the TOC. and it's a CSAR. It's a CSAR mission of a C-130. Like, oh shit! Like this is getting real really quick. Um, Now we train like going back to Black Hawk Down, like we train CSAR, we train with the quickie saws, we train with the airbags, we train with all that stuff, and so we're like, okay, we're gonna do this, and so we're on two Chinooks flying in, and my platoon leader Chinook has a mechanical problem, has to go down, so now I'm flying in, and I'm sure you've heard people talk about elevation. So as you're getting up in elevation, the helicopter can only carry so many people because of weight and fuel and all that. So it's just me, my medic, and 12 dudes. That's what I got. Um, and I do have, they were on your podcast, the 24th STS guys, the PJs and whatnot. So they were on, because as a platoon sergeant, you're one of your big primary jobs is CCP, casualty collection point, in dealing with casualties. So my medic was with me, and the PJs were with me, um, and then the rest of everyone else was with the PL's bird. Now the PL's bird was supposed to be security. So the way it's supposed to work is they come in, or we both come in, and his element secures the crash site. And once it's secured, he calls us forward. We come in to the secured crash site and go to work because they got security. Now, we can put our weapons down and work on doing whatever we have to do. Well, that whole element's gone. So it's me and 12 guys to go in to this crash. And it's pretty much etched into my mind. We come flying over, and like this whole hillside is just on fire, like wow, that's crazy, and you can smell the smoke inside the helicopter as we come in to land, and so we come in, we land. Um, I organized myself with my medic, and then I had some EMTs also because every squad had EMTIs, qualified guys. So I get the medic, the EMTs, and the 24th guys, and the rest of the squad secures this crash site. 12 people. This crash site was huge. Plane was spread out all over the place, um, and so we start going in, and like we're setting up and doing everything. And I asked the PJs, I'm like, so what are we looking for? The guy's like, I don't know. I've never done this. I'm like, shit, man. I don't know. Because they said there was 18 people on board.
Oh, man.
So 18 souls on board. And I'm like, so it turns out 14 of them made it out of the crash plane. Gus, there was nothing left of this plane. Nothing. It was all gone. It was melted. The whole plane was like just gone. The comms box was there. The engine blocks from the Humvees were there. Like it was gone. The engines were like 200 meters away. And guys that went on security find 14 dudes huddled behind a big boulder. Holy shit. So we get a count on them. And, our aircraft just didn't loiter. And we get a count, 14 names, and they confirmed that, that we're missing 4. Fuck, okay. So we get them loaded. They get on aircraft. And so now we got to find 4 people. And that was not fun. That was pretty bad for a first mission. I mean, just the sights of what you're seeing and stuff. And I remember one of the guys, I won't say his name, but so when we got done, we got the bodies extracted and everything. The guys that did that part of the mission, I just let them kind of sit in the middle of the security perimeter and just chill out a little bit. And it was like 8 hours later or something, and one of my guys is just looking at his gloves because we were surgical gloves underneath our Nomex gloves for for the CSAR stuff, blood and guts, whatever. And he's just sitting there looking at his gloves. And I'm like, hey, you okay? He's like, I think I need new gloves. And I'm like, you still got your rubber gloves on? He's like, oh yeah. So he never even took them off. And so yeah, that hit him pretty hard. So that was my first combat mission with CSAR. And then we come back. So one funny thing. So we got our SATCOM set up, right? And that's the only way we can communicate. And I'd say that the STS guy freaking steps on the satellite antenna. Like, are you kidding me? Like, now we can't talk to anyone. Like, so we were, they had a B-52s circle. They had aircraft over us all the time. So we had to shoot UHF up to the aircraft. Then the aircraft had to communicate back to the rear, and rear to the aircraft, and back down to us. That's our communication circle. Finally, let me back. So it's kind of, I don't know. I look at humor in bad situations. So we hold it and then the next day, an SF team shows up from Gardez, just two trucks, but they got the big guns, so we kind of strengthen our perimeter a little bit, and then here come like 4 Chinooks coming in, and they land. Well, first they do a flyover, and then they were sling loading. They had sling loading water pallets and food, and they dropped the sling load of water pallets. I thought this was so funny. They drop it on the side of the hill, and that water just goes all the way down, like just to the bottom of this hill. And then they start landing. It's a whole company of the 101st comes to relieve 12 of us. But right off the bat, these poor dudes are having to hike down this hill to go bring up all the water, But yeah, so their birds came in, we got on their birds, and we left. I thought it was funny they brought a whole company in to do what 12 of us did. And found out real quick, one of our things was, you throw a thermite grenade on the comms package so it burns all the way through. Well, like I said, one of the things that survived was the comms package. So we put a thermite on it, and that didn't do shit. It barely left a burn mark on top of it. So it's kind of like, someone's bullshitting us there. But so we got back. My platoon leader's like, oh man, my bird went down, and all this stuff. I'm like, trust me, you didn't want to really be there anyways. So we're back in the rear. We're chilling. We're on QRF, and sure as anything, we get alerted. We got a DAP helicopter went down. Like, holy crap! So we load up again. 2 Chinooks. We're gonna freaking go do it again. And PL Chinook goes down again. Mechanical trouble. So, but they were able to land back at Kandahar. Turn around, went back to Kandahar. So we went in, the same crew, the same people, same everything. And I made the decision, I don't know if it was right or wrong, but all the people that did the guys that did the extraction last time, I used them again this time to do the extraction, because I figured, like, why fuck up more people? Mm-hmm. They're already jacked, so like, I don't know if that, I'm not laughing at it, but I was like, they've already seen like this stuff.
Already gotten their hands dirty in that aspect.
So why have someone else go through it if they don't have to? Because they're just out there in security. They don't see what's going on. So sure as anything, this was, we got accountability of 3. Pilots alive. 1 pilot's alive. 1's K. And there's a dude trapped underneath the engine that's on his side. And they start working on getting this pilot out, who's just a mess. And this guy that's trapped under the engine, he looks fine to me. Like I'm talking to this guy, and they're starting to do the airbags and everything. You got to get the stuff off the pilot. I'm like, why don't we get this dude off? Like get him. We just got to lift the engine and pull him out. They're like, he's dead. He's dead already. You just don't know it. Like, you
Oh,
shit me? Like they're like, yeah. Once we move that aircraft, he's gonna die. So yeah. So I was he died anyways. But and then the pilot died. Um,
damn.
so that was and then we found another guy that got flung out. He was like 200 yards away. Um, but it was interesting because that one really stuck with me. I'm not going to like go with details,
Oh,
but I mean I can, but
no.
like why it messed me up. But like I needed to talk to. I mean it's the 160th guys. Our community, they're our brothers. Like I need to talk to this guy's family to let him know that he did not die like in the enemy's hands. Like he wasn't getting tortured or anything. Like I just needed some kind of closure. So it took me a long time, and I think it was through Facebook. Yeah, it was through Facebook. I was on the 160th page, and I brought up this crash, and lo and behold, I met the wife of the pilot that was alive that passed away when we were there. And I called her, and I just wanted to tell her, I'm like, I was there when your husband passed away. She's like, no, that's not possible. I'm like, no, I was there. And she was like, that's not what they told me. And I'm like, ma'am, I literally was the first person there. Like he was alive. They're like, no, they said he died on impact. Like, no, he's alive. And it was just, it was like, well, why did he tell her that? Like that couldn't. I was the senior guy and the first guy there. Like, where did that story come from? Like, who reported that? Because I did the AAR, like, so they just twisted it to make it sound like it wasn't so bad or whatever. But I wasn't cool with that. I was not cool with that at all. But and then I come to. She's like, oh, I got remarried and living my life and everything. I'm like, yeah, there's your husband. It's been fucking with me for 10 years, and you're remarried, freaking living happy. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there.
Man.
So
Those
my
are
deployment. I told you
two,
this one's going to be fun.
two rough missions right there. Good
Yeah,
God
two
Almighty.
two in a row, and we became the running. It became the running joke. Don't fly when third platoon's on QRF. All this other crap. So we finally got tasked with a mission on this one, and this is oh shit, get my year wrong, but it's important. What year did we invade Iraq? 05? 04?
Four. Was it four or three?
He was 3. Wow, I told you I'm bad with dates. But anyhow, um, we finally got a mission. Like we got a no shit mission, and we're like, all right, we're gonna do something. And we got opconned out to OGA or the agency. Um, my platoon did, and we were going to go up to this what's called Barakout. It's like way north in Afghanistan, and it's going to be my platoon, some agency guys, and some tier 1 guys, and that's it. We're going up there, and the Konar River is right next to us. Like we're like 300 meters from Pakistan, and it was just like for a Ranger platoon, it was just like the best thing ever. Like we got there, we had to establish it. We didn't have to answer to anyone but the OGA guys because they were our bosses. So like we built the base, and we had like 3 squads. So we had an LPOP squad. It was like a 4-day rotation. You had LPOPs for 4 days. You're on base and camp improvement for 4 days, and then you patrolled for 4 days. And that was kind of our deal was when you're on that 4-day patrol, you're basically just shaking the trees and see what's going to happen. Because the agency guys want to start building this area as targets. So we're going to villages and we're establishing sources and stuff like that. And it was good times. I mean, just we're operating at squad level. You know, like me, my medic, a gun team, and a squad. The PL is RTO, gun team, the squad. So we're at squad level operations for 4 days, just up in the Hindu Kush Mountains, seeing what we can get into. And then the OGA guys would have us go hit a raid for them, whatever. Just doing our thing, just doing a ranger thing. Like, hey, we got this guy up here. You go do a raid, and it was like, Roger that. We'll go do a raid. Like there wasn't a whole bunch to it. Go do what we do. And that's good stuff. So we were up there while we were up there, Iraq started to spin up. So they start talking about us. We're going to pull you guys out and have you link up with Alpha Company in wherever, Kuwait or Qatar or wherever they're at. So we got pulled out of our barracout place, back down to Bagram, palletize all our shit. And like, no, you're not going to go. So back up to barracout we go. Like a week later, they bring us back down, and okay, you're going to link up with your guys. And at that point, we're making sure like we got our pro mask and shit you haven't had to worry about in Afghanistan. And like, okay, we're going to palletize our bags. So we put all our bags on a pallet. We're like, all right, we're going. Like our bags are on the pallet. We're going to get on a plane. We're going to leave. And then it came back again. Like, hey, you guys are just going to stay here. That's fine because we're like, it's not fine because we wanted to be part of the big invasion, But so we get told we're going to stay. And I'm like, well, hey, I need my bags back. Our duffel bags. And they're like, those already took off. Like, what? So, like, we need to get them back here because we only have what's in our rucksacks. And they couldn't find them. Like our bags were gone. And we go back up to barracout for 3 months living out of your rucksack. So we had 2 uniforms, the one on you and the one in your ruck. You had 4 pairs of socks. You had 2 T-shirts. Like that's all you had, man. And I tell you what, though, the agency guy, they just call this guy Red. He trained like the Mujahideen and stuff. Big guy, big red beard, cool as hell. He somehow got porcelain shitters from India into our compound, and this is where your platoon has skills that you don't even know. So we had a spring up on this mountain, right? And it was a fresh spring, and we had toilets and we had showers. We had no water. Well, one of the guys in my platoon was a civil engineer. So he figures out how to get the water from up there to basically you just ask the agency for anything, you get it. You got these 2, I don't know, 11,000 gallon things or whatever that hold water. So the water would come down from the mountain into there, then gravity feed down into the toilets and the showers. Like we literally had flushing toilets because then he put pipes and dug them down and went out the wall. So we had flushing porcelain toilets in the middle of nowhere, Afghanistan. That took a long time because we were up there for 42 days with nothing. Then the wood started coming in and stuff like that. So we're up there, and now the invasion's going to kick off. Like, well, this really sucks. So we tie into their SATCOM thing, and we're just listening to. We're in Afghanistan, listening to the invasion of Iraq, and so we do that. And our 3 months is coming up. Like, all right, we're gonna be going home here because by that time it's 3 month rotations. And they said, oh, you guys have to pick up 3rd Battalion's rotation because they went to Iraq. I'm like, I've been here the whole time. They went to Iraq for 15 minutes. This is some crap. So we stayed 3 more months there. And then we a whole company of the 82nd came in and relieved us of the base and all that. So we left, and the Afghans were so scared. Like, you can't leave. You can't leave. You leave, we die. Like, oh, we're not. You got these guys staying here. Like, no, if you leave, because they knew who was who. They knew guys in these uniforms or those uniforms. Like, oh no, we're not. We're not leaving. We're just going back to Bagram, and you got these guys here. So we go back to Bagram, and I forget what we were up to, but anyhow, our whole platoon's back there, and we get this mission that we're going to do a jump, and well, Charlie Company is going to jump. Charlie Company is going to jump. My platoon is not. So this absolutely sucks. And so to get us involved in the mission, they took my PL. Here's my poor PL again. They take my PL and half my platoon and move them forward towards where we're going to jump to be a QRF up there. So now it's just me and a squad and a couple other guys like Gustav Gunner, a medic, whatever, hanging out. And First Sergeant Phipps is his name. He comes by my hooch and he's like, "Hey, Bannerman, how many dudes you got?" I was like, "Whatever, 10 or whatever I said." I'll remove him. He goes, "Okay, we're gonna have you guys replace 3rd Platoon for Charlie Company because they're in ABAD and we don't want to bring them out of ABAD. So you're going to be 3rd Platoon Charlie Company for this." I'm like, I only got like 10 guys. He's like, "Oh, we'll give you some more people. Don't worry about it." So like cool, like this is awesome. And but this jump is like really weird. Like we have like a briefing, like nothing's really said. Like they show us like some drop zones that we might go to in Afghanistan. And the reason why this turned into a jump is because it was right on it's called the tri-border. It's right on the Pakistani, Iranian, Afghanistan border, right down there. And they call it the rat line because that's where stuff would ship from Iran through Afghanistan to Pakistan back and forth, right there. So it's like we're getting these different images because our RRD, now RRC, is up there with their Air Force guys and they're checking soil to make sure that we can land planes and stuff. And they finally find a suitable desert landing strip. And it's just like, it was close, really close to the Iranian border. But, there's like some compound that had some artillery that could reach us, that had bunkers and all that. We're like, oof, that's going to be pretty ugly. But the OGA went down there and made nice with them, paid them, whatever. So they didn't bother us. So we went from that to being a part of Charlie Company. They kicked me some guys. I got a full platoon now. So now I'm a platoon leader, and I have one of my E6s as a platoon sergeant. And my PL, the real PL, is forward staged, hanging out in the desert somewhere. So we find out we're going to do an airfield, like a airfield seizure, but a DLS seizure, desert landing strip seizure. And early on in the war, we were still highly trained at airfield seizures. And now it's kind of like a legacy task. They do it like twice a year. But before the GWAT, like you're doing that all the time, airfield seizures. So it wasn't like we were unfamiliar with what our job was going to be. So I ended up being primary jump master on Chalk 1. So I went from not going to being primary jump master on Chalk 1. And it was going to be a combat jump 500 feet, um, no reserves, and it's like, okay, this is interesting. Get rigged up, and like you're doing your like JMPI, like some you can jump your weapon exposed if you wanted to, like just you put it in your straps and jump it exposed for a combat jump. Some guys did that, and like I never JMPI'd an exposed weapon before, but some guys did it. I think just for cool points. But yeah, so we flew so close to the Iranian border that the Iranians scrambled their jets to come after us, and they started painting us with their radar, and we didn't know that. We were flying in smooth, like just rock solid coming in, and I got backed up. So we had 82nd coming in behind us after we jumped, and so we jumped 500 feet, man. It is literally, and I don't know why I counted because I had no reserve, but I still put my hands like over no reserve, counted to 4, looked at my parachute, hit the ground. Like that's how fast it happened. And this had to be the smoothest parachute or airfield seas ever met. Like platoon was 100% accountable. Maybe like 10 minutes after the jump, like everyone's in the right place, like accountable for, and nobody's hurt, nothing. It was like perfect. We move into our blocking positions, and the air land sequence starts coming in just like we train. Jump in, clear, make sure there's nothing on the run, the strip, and clear it, secure it. Then the planes start coming in. Again, now we don't know why we're doing this mission. Like we just know we're doing an airfield seizure to land some planes, but we don't know why. Like they're not telling us. And the planes land, off get the Hiluxes, civilian trucks, and off they go into the desert. And I tell you this, one of the scariest parts was I had to go link up with the 82nd to tie in together, and we didn't have comms together. I'm like, I got IR strobes going off. I'm like that. This is me, like, because I had to physically go make contact with them. But, so yeah, they take off. We secure the airfield throughout the day. Get word they're coming back, so they come back into the perimeter, and we start the exfil sequence. And it was like you took it off a training video of how to do it. It just collapsed so smooth. Everybody's accountable. Everything's ready to go. Get up on the birds, and we go. Do the mission, and like there's no AAR. There's nothing. There's like, and I'm thinking to myself, like, this is a great way to get around country, really. Like, you don't even have to call it a combat jump. You just, instead of driving for hours or whatever, you can just jump in. But it wasn't, it was, I still don't know to this day who we got. I don't know who that was. The mission was never given a name. It's still it's still secret for some reason. They admitted the mission happened in 2014, but what they did, it's still top secret. So I had no idea. Like I had no idea. Like we did. It literally was like compartmentalized. So you did your piece, and that's all you knew.
Jeez.
So that was pretty cool. Only 3 platoons of guys got combat jump wings from Afghanistan. So, well, I mean, from our company, and like in my platoon, it was even worse. We basically had a squad of guys that did a combat jump, and my PL again, second, didn't get to go. I'm wearing my jump wings around garrison when we get back, But so it was a wild deployment. It was just all over the place. The being up on your own, just doing your thing. that was awesome. I mean, now I will take it back to like the old school Vietnam days. We are going squad level. Sometimes now this is probably pretty stupid. Sometimes we break down to team level because we figured, well, who's going to mess with 20 fucking armed dudes in full up battle gear? Well, maybe if we break down the fire teams, someone might fuck with us. And then we kind of realized, like, no, we can't. We'll never get up and down these mountains in time to help each other. But we did it.
Jeez.
And it's just how our times are different. We didn't wear helmets. We didn't wear body armor. We just wore a kit. And, we did have our helmets and night vision in our rucksacks. But we learned really quick when you're up around 14,000 feet, those mountains are no joke. And you will take a digger that could be 1,000-foot fall.
Oh.
So, like, moving at night in the Himalaya or the Hindu Kush Mountains is not a very good option. So we kept our helmets or nods in our rucks to do night raids or whatever, but we didn't move in the mountains at night. You just found like a decent place to sit down and catch some Z's and move out in the morning.
Man. And was that pretty much the end of that tour, or were y'all still there for a while?
No, that was pretty much it. We closed back, everybody back to Bagram. That was about it. Nothing really happened after that. And then so we got home. This is where just things get a little weird. So we deployed to Afghanistan. We stayed in Afghanistan for an extra tour. The rest of my company went to Iraq, did Iraq, and came home while I was still in Afghanistan. So they already went to war and were home. So we get back from Afghanistan. Three-quarters of my company went to Iraq, and they're telling their Iraq stories. And like we were like the redheaded stepchild, like, oh, you guys were in Iraq, It's like, you weren't freaking running missions for the agency either. So, like we had our own war going on. Don't worry. But that all got sorted out as the years went by. Like everybody got theirs. Don't worry about it.
Okay. And did you end up taking a ROTC role at this point, or were you still?
Yeah, I did. Excuse me. So, my wife said she needed a break, and I can't blame her for that. So I called the Ranger branch guy, and I said, "What do you?" And this actually ended up being a trend. I said, "What do you got cool in Ohio?" He's like, "I'm like, you got some like active duty guard guys or something like that?" He's like, "Ohio, what?" He's like, I'm like, "Do you have any active duty jobs in Ohio that I can go to for a couple of years?" He calls me back. He's like, "I get you University of Dayton, ROTC." I'm like, "Okay, I'll do that." So I went, and Dayton's about 2.5 hours from home for me. So we got to kind of cool our jets a little bit. While I was there, I went to selection that Joe Kent went to. So very familiar with that little bit, except they called me when I was a staff sergeant working in RIP the first time. And I was just like, man, I just had my kids, like I really can't do it right now. And then they called me again, and I was sergeant first class. I was a sergeant first class promotable. And I went, and it's just, I made it. And then I told them, like, when you got me at my E6, I should have done this, but now, I got deployments under my belt, got my family, like I'm not the same guy I was, whatever, 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Are you sure? Because you're fine." Like, Yeah, I'm sure. Like, I want to be, you know, I like where I'm at. So
Yeah.
it was that was probably one of the most professional things I've ever done in my career. Um,
Wow.
was that little
That-
bit? Um, yeah, it's kind of interesting because when you had him on, he was talking about going to RIP in '98. I'm like, shit, when did I teach RIP? I started RIP in '99, so I didn't have him. But then like he was at that unit too, and I was like, oh man, we may have ran in the same circles. But,
And
uh,
that's wild. Yeah, just not the right time for that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I kind of it's kind of one of those could woulda shouldas. So when that phone call first came to me, that really set my like mindset. Like that's what I want to do. Um, so I kind of blew off like even going to Delta selection,
Mm.
um, which would have been way more in my lane than working as an individual like person kind of thing. Like so, but I blew it off. I was like, no, that I'm going to go do this special thing, Um, so I let that train leave the station and coulda, woulda, shoulda, never did it.
Mm. But I mean, you were right where you needed to be. I mean,
Yeah, it was good. Um, so yeah, I did my RTC thing, and then like I said, I was E7 promotable. So I did my 2 years, and then talking about that pyramid. Now I got to get back in the regiment. Like you leave. Um, you're not like there's no promise you're coming back. Um, so I call the battalion sergeant majors. I know all of them, and basically we hired me for a job. You know, um, and then third battalion sergeant major. He's the first one. He's like, "Yep, got a job for you right now." You know, I'm like, "Oh, very cool." And then the first battalion sergeant major, and that's where I grew up at. He calls me and he's like, "Hey, you got a space for you here in first battalion." I was like, "Oh, sergeant major, third battalion
jeez.
already offered me a job," and I said, "Yes." He goes, "Oh, fuck them." He goes, "Come back to first battalion." So I went back and I went through RASP, um, and I thought RASP was funny because I worked in RIP. RIP and RASP were like the same thing. So like I knew every day what we're gonna do. Like I knew the land nav points. It was kind of a chill out thing. So yeah, got there and staff finally got me. I finally got put on battalion staff. I was the ops NCO,
Wow.
waiting for my company, which was interesting because I got to deploy um, twice as not a first sergeant. Um, I was the senior enlisted, if you will, in Missoula. Um,
Wow.
so I worked in the TOC there and was the senior enlisted guy. But I knew I was I knew I was already going to go to ACO. I could just wait for the time. So Charlie Company was there, and I'd go up to their first one and be like, "Hey, Mike, you got room for this? You got room for me in this one?" He's like, "Oh yeah, man." They always have an extra E8 around. So I was just like hopping on missions with them. And at that time in Mosul, it was on. I mean, it was those.
Crazy.
It was 24-hour ops. Like you'd go out, hit two during the day, come back, eat, try to get some Z's, go to 2, 3 at night, and just running crazy. But I got to be picky and choosy. Like, hey, can I go on this one? I don't think I'll go on that one. But uh, my sergeant major caught wind of me doing that. He's like, Banner, what the fuck? I'm like, well, sergeant major, I'm taking over ACO, so I need to be familiar with what's going on the ground now. Like trying to sell it. Like, yeah, I got you. But my second trip, this is really cool. I was into crit, and this I don't know if you've heard of the fusion Intel fusion cells or Intel fusion cell or not. It's something McChrystal came up with. Um, so we're going to stand up this intel fusion cell. And what that is all your intel players, the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, CIA, DIA, all the intel whackers, like all their head guys, would work in one building, one freaking table, and they would develop everything and send it out. Get a better picture, because believe it or not, there was actually some hard times, not hard times, but getting information shared between people was not like happening all the time. So I got sent over to establish this as the NCOIC. And when I say establish it, I mean like find a piece of land onto Crit. It's a huge base. I had to go talk to the mayor, whatever they called the fucking sergeant major. I think they called him the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the mayor. So I'd go talk to him, tell him I need a piece of land, go get that, build up the big T-walls. I spent a bunch of money on freaking chews. Probably the nicest chews you could get. They're two-man chews with a bathroom. They're gold, man. But up until then, I had to find some vacant houses from the Iraqis. We lived there. Literally, I mean, we're buying computers, and I'm just asking these guys, that do this. I'm like, what kind of computers do you need? Like, oh, we need Alienware, blah 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 blah.
Oh God,
like, best computer you could buy,
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, okay, I need fucking 15 of those, or actually it was more than that, because you had each person at their desk had non-secure computer, a
secure work computer.
secure computer, and then a SOAS computer, which is TSI. And so, and they all had to be Alienware. So that was like, I'm just like
fortune.
writing checks, man, just fucking spending money. So we had this big meeting building. I thought this was funny. So I had this big meeting building where, like, the time the 101st Division commander would come over, and all the big commanders would come over, and our people and the division intel people would give like this big brief to all the commanders and everything. And they complained the first time that it was too hot in their meeting room chew, because it was like two chews together, so a big room. So it was too hot. Like, oh, too hot? Really? Okay. So I bought like 10 of these air conditioners that like go in the wall, and it dropped down to like 48 degrees in there.
God.
It was freezing. Like one of our morale line, like our morale phone and computer, were in that one, so it's away from everything. Like if you went in there, you had to have your poncho liner or a jacket. So the next time we had a meeting, I cranked them all the way down. It was freezing in there. And then finally, I forget, one of the dudes is like, hey, Dave, can we warm it up a little bit in here?
Find a nice middle ground between icicles and sweating in here.
It was my whole purpose. Oh, you're bitching about the air conditioning you have when people are out there with no air conditioning in a foxhole. Not a foxhole, but you know what I mean. Like,
Oh yeah.
dudes are out there living in tents with nothing, and you're bitching about some air conditioning. But so I just proved the point. I thought that was funny. But it was really cool to see this dynamic of the war, because I was, that definitely wasn't being done when I was platoon sergeant operating. But now in Iraq, this is how we're operating. And these guys were so good. You've seen like the movies where they got the pictures and the yarn that goes from person to person to person.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like, there'd be like the JSOC intel guy, the head guy. He had his own little room, so the CA had, their head people. But he'd hear a name like being talked about in the main room. Like, hey, did you just say Abu whatever? He's like, I know that guy. In 2002, he was this guy and that guy and this guy. And they get all crazy on their dry erase boards and everything. Boom, there's a target. Like, what the hell just happened? Like, it was amazing. These guys had so much knowledge to do it and put together these packages. Pretty accurate packages too. And then of course we got to watch them. Like, for the guys that come up with it, they get to watch the mission go down and see what their intel,
Brings
provided.
out. Wow.
So that was kind of just a fun thing. It was a way different, way something I've never, did in the Army or anything like that. So it was,
Real behind the scenes look.
yeah.
I bet that was, I mean, getting to see like you said, you see in the movies. I mean, guys looking at the screens, here's that, there's that, let's get a team ready. There, I mean, yeah, that would have been crazy to get to see after you being in the field, wondering how it's all taking place. Now you're back in the talk and seeing how the sausage is made and y'all get sent out. That had to be really, really cool to see.
Yeah, it was
And especially you building it from the ground up, no less.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, you talk about some, oh man, I don't know what our budget was because I just asked for stuff.
The Alienwares alone. I mean, when you said that, I was like, whoa, we're talking big money just on computers here.
And then of course, your printers, I had to have printers for, non-secure, for secure and top secret printers. And then I had a mapping computer, like a huge printer that could print out these whole map sheets and everything. And you know how much ink that is? Holy crap. And ink is not cheap. I remember putting in the request for that ink. I'm like, oh man, they're not going to approve it. But they did.
It's like, I'll just send us 55-gallon barrels and we'll refill our own little cartridges.
Right.
Man, oh man. Was this your last deployment before you took over your college Army ROTC program?
Oh no. So I left 2nd Battalion, then went to Dayton. Left Dayton, went back to 1st Battalion.
Okay.
Did my staff time, did my ops time. So that deployment into Crit was my last staff deployment. As soon as we came home from that, I took responsibility for Alpha Company, and it was great for me because I grew up. Well, I mean, I was an E4 in Bravo Company, but I grew up in Alpha Company, and then when I was in 2nd Battalion, I was in Alpha Company. So now, for me to take over Alpha Company seemed like just
coming back home, kind of
the right deal. Yeah.
Wow. What was that like for you as your last combat role or so to speak, of being able to come back home?
Good. It was good. It was I knew 2 of my platoon sergeants really well. So I didn't have to meet them and figure out who they were. One I did have to, I didn't know him for whatever reason. But I had really good platoon sergeants, had great company commanders. The one commander that went off to the old guard, he was my first company commander. His name's Dave too. So it's interesting. So we went to Ramadi together.
Oh.
And in Ramadi, it was like game on. I'm sure you've heard stories about Ramadi. So
hell on earth.
It was game on. It was a go get 'em deployment. And at that time, the first sergeant's role was still because back pre-wartime, the first sergeant was all the way in the back, waiting for casualty collections, beans and bullets, stuff like that. But when we're going to do these operations now, you're going with a platoon plus. So what happened was we were getting squirters on targets, and there'd be a guy running, a squirter running, whatever, and the ISR has them, whatever. And I found myself and my couple of guys that were with me, my medic, my training NCO, and we were the free ones. We had nothing, we were free, so we'd go chase them down. And then as that deployment went along, I kind of started developing. I was like, okay, I even gave it a name called CP Red, because we had CP Black, CP Gold, and I gave myself CP Red. and it became a thing. Like all first sergeants started doing it and call it their own CPs, whatever. But so I started off with myself, my medic, my training NCO, and then I took along with me the FO, his RTO, who's an FO himself. He's just lower ranked than the FO. So I got me and my team leader, or me and my training NCO as kind of like fighters. My medic is definitely a fighter, but we're not going to say that. That dude had more freaking kills than I swear to God. But anyways, so you had us three, and then you had the FO who could talk to ISR and guide us in on these squirters. So that worked out pretty well. And then I like, you know what I need? I need a dog. I need a dog that can chase these squirters. So I got me a canine handler, one of the Ranger canine handlers, and my dog Jari. And he became part of my. Yeah, there he is, Jari. Good picture. He look how vicious he is. That dog. He had the most. He had the most bites in country for a while.
Dang.
And he never bit a woman or a child. But anyhow, I love that dog. He's passed away now. I mean, that was a long time.
He's a beautiful. Is that a Belgian Malinois?
Yep, he's a biggie too. He's 70 pounds.
Yeah, I was about to say he's a fur bomb, not a fur missile.
We had to lie about his weight to like fast rope and jump with him because he's like whatever. But he was such a good dog, no one cared. So now I've upgraded myself to me, my doc, my training NCO, and the FO. There, that's him. That's my team. That's my team. So left to right is the AG gunner, and I got myself a machine gunner. So now I have AG machine gunner and FO. He's the tall guy towards the right, right there. So that's my support by fire. I got machine guns and I got aircraft and whatever else for support by fire. And you got me in the middle, Drew Burke, who to be a dog handler, you have to be a team leader in the first. So he's already been an experienced team leader. So he knows how to do whatever we got to do. My doc next to my right or left shoulder, Chris McNamara, he let me just tell you how badass this doc is. He won Medic of the Year twice for the whole Army, 2 years back to back.
Dang.
Then he went up to brag without going to selection.
What?
Yeah, he's insane. He is just pound for pound. He's the most physically beasted person ever. And then on the far right is Clemens, who's my training NCO, who also was a team leader before he was my training NCO. So yeah, I have two E5s, my E6 medic, and myself. That's my clearing element. And I kind of made this like under the radar, like kind of thing. And it was kind of like a gun team tryout because these guys had to be like, you can't tell here, but we're all trim. We're all carrying 4 mags, not 6 mags or 7 mags. So we only have 1 mag per pouch. We're light because we're going to be running. But the machine gunners, you can't change that freaking 7.62 ammo. It's going to, him and his AG, it's going to weigh a lot. And like go on a mission and we get a squirter, and if that gunner couldn't hang with me, he was fired. I'd go grab another gunner. Like, and this guy, the gunner here, he got an ARCOM with V for one mission, pretty squared away.
Yeah, he looks like he's a stud and a half.
Yeah, and he could hang with us. I mean, we're all running dead sprints, and those 2 guys with their 7.62 gear are running right along with us. And I kind of did this on a sneaky sneak, and then my CO's like, I see what you did here. He's like, you got yourself your own fighting element. I'm like, hell yeah, I do. So our next deployment, like it was established, and I was the only first sergeant running something like that. So when we were doing our pre-deployment training, they would do the squirt X on us, and I get the word in the bird coming in, squirters going blah blah blah. So as soon as we land, we just jet for the squirters. We wouldn't go to the building. We just jet and go get the squirters and then grab them. And like the guys that were watching us, the other Rangers, they're like, "Did you get the squirters?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're right here." He's like, "How did you get them so fast?" Like, because this is what we did. Like, this is how we operate. Like, so like in Mosul or in Ramadi, after we established that, it was a thing. If there was squirters, like there's no reason for me to even go to the target building. I'm going to go get the squirters.
We're in Ramadi. Were y'all utilizing strikers and armored vehicles,
yeah.
or were y'all foot
Strikers.
patrol?
Strikers and helos. Yeah, strikers. Dang, man, I forgot all about strikers.
I've
Used the
seen a
shit out
few.
of them.
I've seen a few photos of Jack Murphy and some of the other Ranger guys, and I was just curious because, man,
Yeah.
from the footage I've seen, y'all laid down some waste with those things, man.
Yeah, I totally forgot. Yeah, because we had a whole deployment of just strikers, and
Wow.
then we had everything. So basically, what happened is the military, the Army, the Marines took care of Ramadi, but we still deployed to Ramadi. Yeah, there's the strikers. 50 cals. Yep. Oh, does this have the RWS? That one does. The one that you just pointed on the right has that remote weapon system. Yeah, it's like playing a video game.
Jeez, is that
You
that
just look-
30 millimeter, that Bushman, or
It's 50 cal,
50 cal as well? Oh, good God Almighty!
but it's on this big turret that's manual, like you control from the inside, and you just turn the turret, put the crosshairs on the target, boom. I mean, dudes were getting headshots with those things.
That's a dream come true for the Xbox generation, right there.
Oh yeah, that's the whole idea behind it. And you don't have to be exposed. You can stay buttoned up and just go to town on that. But so the Army and everybody took care of business. So we still went to Ramadi, but we were basically using Ramadi to launch missions flying out somewhere else. Anything within our AO we were going after with helicopters.
And were y'all, do the Rangers as a whole, are y'all working with 160th, or do y'all have Black Hawks from?
No, we only fly 160th.
160th, okay.
The only time like in country we wouldn't fly at a 160th bird is like someone was rotating back for
Going home or
a
moving
reason.
bases, or
they would be, they'd take a conventional Army helicopter, like they'd come drop off the mail or something, and our guy would go get on that helicopter and go
man, those 160th guys are some studs.
Dude, they are awesome. And that one you just reminded me. I don't remember the mission. I just remember what this pilot did. He parked, little birds. Those little birds, they can come in, freaking sweep the street, and land you at the front door. We've all seen like Black Hawk Down, and they skid, and the guys jump off right in. This dude, Chief Bulis, that was his name, Chief Bulis. I've been trying to remember that for years. He's the best freaking Chinook driver I ever had. Oh my God! Like, you tell this guy what's going on, you're like, I got it. Like, you sure you don't want to get closer? Like, okay, yeah, like of course. But he took us on one. And it was a regular compound with the walls and all that, with the building in the back. He brought us in, whipped the back end around, dropped the Chinook so the ramp was at the front door. But Chinook, not a little bird, not a Black Hawk, a Chinook. Spun it around, dropped it, ramp was at the front door, and we went into the building. It was incredible. And the same guy we were going for kind of a hot exfil. And he was just the lead on this, but they parked 3 helicopters, like on these little, maybe the length of a football field. So 100 yards with 3 helicopters, that's really not that big for 3 helicopters. All 3 of those freaking Chinooks came in and parked it right there. Like, unbelievable.
Jeez.
Those guys are just phenomenal. I can't say enough about those two. And they will do anything. Like, within, they would do anything but crash the aircraft. I mean, they would just do some of the, like, you can do this, Chief, or, whatever. Oh, yeah, no problem. Whatever. Like, I would always tell them, like, when we had the rope, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a 50-foot fast rope or whatever. I'm like, hey, can you get us a little lower than that? He's like, oh, yeah, how low you want to go? Because I can't land, but I'm like, like 10 feet. Yeah.
Holy cow.
It was just awesome. Like, we did one mission out of Ramadi, and we were heading towards the border, and it was really weird because we got spun up like at 3 a.m, and usually by then you're kind of, the night's over with because you only have so many hours of daylight or nighttime still. So if nothing's happened at 3 o'clock, you're pretty much calling it a night. But so right around 3 o'clock, we get spun up for this mission, and it's like an hour-long flight. So we hit the ground, and we are literally, there's like really no tactical about it. I mean, their guys are in wedges or whatever, but it's just a full sprint to the target. Just everyone hauling ass to this target, straight to it from the birds. We go in there, capture this guy. He's got all kinds of intel stuff, computers, and just all kinds of shit. We roll him up, and he was so important that now the Task Force 160th will say they don't fly during the day, but he was important enough because when the sun came up, we said we're fucked. We're going to be here we're going to be here till nighttime. They flew back in during daylight. We piled in that aircraft, and we flew down to Baghdad. And God, he was going so fast, and we were going nap of the earth, like in the wadis, he was just hugging it. Just guys are puking all over the place, and he's just hauling ass because of daylight, And yeah, they're just badass dudes. They're just badass dudes.
Man, oh man. Wow. So was Ramadi, was this Bad Ramadi tour your last
No, I had one more because you get 3 as a first sergeant.
Oh wow.
It's just everything was like planned out like that. So my last deployment was to Afghanistan. And this was kind of a weird deployment because usually we'd go somewhere and kind of stay there, and that would be our operating base. But this trip we were the only Ranger element in Afghanistan at this time because everyone's playing Iraq at this time, and so we were bouncing all over. Like wherever there was something going on in the country, we would just bust all over Afghanistan. I never moved that many times. Like you couldn't even get comfortable, like anything. Then we finally got to a place called Kalat. It was a FOB, but I think it was run by the Polish or something like that. But it was, plenty of Americans there. So we operate out of Kalat. And one last mission I'll talk about because apparently it's in the Ranger history books or whatever. We get this intel we're going to hit this guy. It was Objective Longstreet was the name, and it was middle winter time in the mountains of Afghanistan, freezing ass cold. So we're going to infill. We're going to infill at 12,000 feet, and then go down into Gardez, which is like 10,000 feet. We're going to walk down into the thing to get this guy, and it was negative 25 degrees, and the helicopter comes in. I had a thing where I was always the first one off the aircraft, last one on the aircraft. It was just my thing. So they bring the aircraft in, put the ramp down. Guy gives me the go thing, and I jump off the ramp, and I'm 6'3", and I'm this deep in snow. I'm like, this has got to be a joke. I'm looking at him telling me to get back on the bird. Like, oh, no, this is not. This ain't right. We got to go some. And by that time, everyone's piling off. And everyone's just falling in the snow, and it's so freaking cold. So we all infill, and then poor team leader up front, he's busting the trail, chest deep snow, hip deep snow, and everyone's just in a row going through this snow. Um, it was just crazy. Like, we got so many lessons learned off of this. At this point, we weren't using lithium batteries. We're just using like Duracell or whatever batteries.
Oh.
So all of our nods and everything kept like turning off. It's because the batteries were freezing. Like, some reason I just did it myself. I was wearing a face mask, and I took my sword and mic and I tucked it back into my face mask because I didn't want to breathe on it and freeze my breath on it, which happened to a lot of guys. Their mic was frozen. And then I remember walking, and like my weapon was like ice. And I've never been in that cold weather and had to go get in a firefight. And I'm like, man, if I shoot this thing, is it going to shatter? Like, I don't know. I've never been that cold before. So like, we're walking, and one dude goes into hypothermia while we're infilling, and now we got to call for medic and a fucking medevac halfway to the objective. So we figured, like, now we got to get there. So we're kind of busting ass to get there. And it was some more lessons learned. So we're going through the village, or this town of Gardez, and I told my guys, I'm like, bring whatever winter boots you want, because for some stupid reason they stopped issuing new guys cold weather boots. Like, the new guys just had issued desert boots. And I was like, I told everyone, I'm like, just bring whatever boots you want to wear for the wintertime, just bring it. I really don't care. So me and the older guys, we had the Danner Arcadia boots that were black. This is important to the story. We had the black Arcadia boots back in the day, and that's what we were wearing. So as we're patrolling through the village, dudes are just falling all over the place. I mean, just yard selling all over. Boom, boom, boom. Saw a guy standing still. Boom, falls down. This poor machine gunner. Every time we stopped, he fell over. The machine gun hit the ground, make all this noise. I walk up to him, like, if you fall down again, I'll fucking kick your ass. Like Jesus Christ. Like, I'm not having that issue. Like, my medic who was with me, he's not having that issue. We're wearing the same boots, but we didn't think about it. So we go do the mission. We finally get there. Go down the mission. It's a good one. It's a game on. Gardez woke up and wanted to play. It was going to turn into like like a Black Hawk Down scenario, because everybody was up and it was game on. But so we captured the guys. Captured a couple guys. The main guy, we took care of him. But we just took these guys outside, and then we moved up, and then they brought the aircraft in for us a little closer. And we get back, and the damn prisoners were wearing their sandals. Now they got frostbite feet. Now I'm in trouble for not taking care of our prisoners because they got frostbitten feet. Because once you detain someone, you're responsible for their health and safety and all that crap. Like, are you shitting me? Like I'm getting an earful from it. Well, what? And then we had, I think, 12 cases of frostbite, like significantly bad frostbite, noses, fingers. And what it was is like the FO, the RTOs, and guys that had to like remove their gloves to fuck with their knobs or whatever it was. Those guys got frostbite. Like, I'm talking like the black finger, like, frostbite. So this whole, and we had a bunch of hypothermia. Like, it was bad. Like, we made it happen. The guys that had frostbite, they didn't stop. I mean, we got to the rear, and we started going over things like, the batteries kept freezing up on us, and they're like, oh, we need lithium batteries. Lithium batteries don't freeze. That was never a thing. So now everything's lithium batteries. The JSOC Sergeant Major said, what do we need? I said, Sergeant Major, half my guys didn't have winter boots. I mean, we need winter boots. So he got them from Cabela's. He literally didn't go to the CIF or somewhere. I made a list of everyone's boot size, and whoever he gave it to order them from Cabela's, because Cabela's box came and we got these Dan Arcadia desert winter boots. Go on a mission. Guys are falling around, still falling down. I'm like, the hell's I just got the black ones. Why are they falling around in the tan ones? So I call Danner, and I'm like, hey, we're deployed and we're having this issue, and I have a theory that the guy's boots soles are freezing, and so they're like ice walking on ice. And the guy's like, well, that's probably what's happening. Their soles are freezing. I'm like, but I got the black versions, and I'm not having that problem. He said, well, you got the older boots. And he goes, we use a different rubber compound in those boots. And then after the Army changed to tan boots, and Vibram was making all those tan soles, they went to a different rubber compound that freezes at a or higher temperature. And I find out they're like Everest boots and all that, different rubber. It's a whole thing. I didn't know that, but so we found that out. The batteries things, bringing damn boots for the freaking bad guys that you roll up.
That's a crazy one. Jeez.
When you got that many cold weather casualties and just a major firefight, people are going to start, well, how'd you get all these cold weather casualties? Well, fuck, it's negative 25 degrees, man. You tell me. And how do you dress? I'm going to walk 7 clicks. I can't wear everything I need to wear to stay warm. So what do I wear for 7 clicks? And then when I get to the target, I'm not going to be moving around, so I'm going to be cold. But so you know what we did? The people that made there was the same sergeant major that came up with the idea. He said, he goes, you know what you need? He goes, you need those big football jackets like they wear on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, that way you can just put it over your kit. Like, that's a great idea, sergeant major. That would work great. And you just order some for, whatever, football jackets, sideline jackets. And, JSOC sergeant major has a little bit of pull. The guys that made the PCUs made what's called the linebacker jacket. That's what we call them, linebacker jackets. So our guys, because you got to picture most of the guys, once you hit target and the target's done and you're doing your questioning or whatever, most of those guys are outside stagnant pulling security. So they're going to start getting really cold. So it gave us this really cool jacket that went around your waist and it fit into a little pouch. So when you got to your final position and you're going to be there for a while, you can pull out this big linebacker jacket and put it on. But that was, it's like we just didn't think about things like that.
Don't know what you don't know, at the beginning. Jeez, man. And so that hellacious excursion in the snow, that was your last combat deployment with Rangers.
We had more missions after that, but that was my last trip. And I'd come up on the sergeant major list, or eligible for the sergeant major list, and had a big decision to make right there. And the regimental sergeant major asked me what I was going to do. I was like, yeah, I'm going to decline it, sergeant major. He goes, if you decline it, you got to go. I'm like, yeah, I know. Because I had talked to the branch guys, the E8 branch, And like me personally, their game plan for me was to go to the Sergeant Major Academy. That's gone for a year. Then from the Sergeant Major Academy, I was going to go to Fort Drum to the 10th Mountain, and I was in the next, however they do it, battalion brigade deploying for 18 months. And then after that, I could try to get back to regiment. And I was just like, no, I'm done. I'm declining it. So I pulled the ROTC card again. So I had 2 years left, and this time I got ROTC in Cleveland, where I'm from. So that's how I ended up here. I did that, and I retired out of there with no fanfare, no nothing. Just slipped out of the Army. But it's funny because I was doing some contracting afterwards, and guys that were kind of in the same boat I was, I'm like, look, man, this is a hidden secret. All right. When you get towards the end of your career, you can go to ROTC anywhere in the country. So if you want to go to Las Vegas and that's where you want to live afterwards, go do ROTC there and you establish yourself. If you want to go to Timbuktu, go to ROTC in Timbuktu, and then you're already there when you retire. You guys are like, that's such a good, like, that was like, it was like a trend for a little while. Like, that's how guys were finishing out their careers. You cool your jets. And I thought it'd be a way too to kind of assimilate to civilian life because I'm working on a college campus. That wasn't so true. But yeah, that was my last thing there was teaching those cadets. And I learned pretty early in my career, like, lieutenants, they get a rough time because they're just like privates, they just went to college. And everyone says, oh, it's a platoon sergeant's job to train your lieutenant. And the platoon sergeant's like, hey, my fucking job. But so I was trying to, and I was at a small school, John Carroll University, so I had a handful, maybe 15 cadets in my class because I taught the juniors. And I ran it like a pre-ranger, really. No, obviously they're going to school, but we did op orders, we did warning orders, we did like everything to get them. I trained them all like they were going to be infantry platoon leaders. I don't care if it was a nurse. Like, I really truly believe that these, like it or not, these lieutenants are going to go out to the Army and they're going to be in charge of something. So I might as well square away, whatever NCO they're going to go to and try to give them a good product, because, you got the PL flipping off the bird, whatever. He made it through the system somewhere. But also, I really did feel like, and that's part of our charters, Abrams Charter, that you go out to the Army and kind of influence the Army. And I thought no better place to do it than at least put a good seed in these lieutenants' ear, so when they do go out, they make it. Like, I got one. I had 3 that got to Ranger Regiment. I got 1 that went SF. I got 1 that went to Delta. A couple helicopter pilots. They do really. So I made a good influence on them.
Absolutely. Wow. And you ended up retiring in 2011. Is that correct?
2011. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And are you full-time retired now? What?
Oh, geez. You want some post-retirement? Yeah. So I retired in 2011, and then I was supposed to get a job as a contractor out at NTC. And that was going to be like a 6-figure job. And the way it worked is like you were gone for 3 weeks, then home for a month, and gone for a few weeks, whatever. Like, you just had to go to NTC for a rotation of whatever unit's going through there. And I was already locked and cocked. Like, that's what I'm going to do. My buddy owns the company that's going to do it. And we got underbid and we lost the contract. So when I retired, I had no job. I had nothing. So I got a part-time job. then the wheels started coming off. Had a real hard time adjusting. Um, we moved out to Arizona, and then I got a job at the VA,
Oh wow.
which I thought was going to be cool, helping vets. Um, and while I was at the VA, I met this guy that I was deployed with in Missoula in the TOC, and he worked at oh my gosh, what's the Air Force Base in Tucson? Wow, I'll think of it. But anyhow, he worked there as a civilian, and what he did was deconflict um, ATF and DIA and aircraft like that going to Central America. So, because Davis Mountain, they control all the airspace. Like, you know, they control the Southern Hemisphere airspace. So he had to go to them and deconflict when they had missions going on, basically after cartels and drug dealers and stuff like that. And he's like, you know, we're looking for. I'm just a temporary fill. I'm only here part time, so we're looking for someone to fill, you know, my position. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, sounds great. Another 6-figure job, and I get the offer letter in the mail while I was at the VA, and my boss walks by. Her name was Carrie. I said, and I'm looking at the offer. I'm like, holy shit. So she walks by. I'm like, Carrie, I'm putting my 2 weeks notice in. She like leans over my head. She's like, oh my God. She's like, okay. And then so like I'm meeting this guy, and he's starting to brief me up on stuff that they got going and technologies they're using and whatnot. And then they went to check my clearance, and they said I didn't have a clearance. I'm like, dude, I had like when I was the Intel Fusion guy, I had like the highest clearance you could have. It was like TS, SCI, HCS, and G, and H, like all the letters. Like, and apparently during that time, I didn't even have a secret clearance, but they gave me all these other clearances, which I don't understand. So he's like, yeah, dude, you don't have an active clearance, so we need this job filled by 1 October, and they're not going to pay to get you a clearance. Like, ain't that a bitch? So there goes another job. So worked at the VA, front desk guy, working with vets every day, and you know, just being the soldier or ranger, you know, you got to move up, right? You got to move up. You got to be the best. You got to move up. So I applied for a position called a lead position, and the guys that have been there longer than me, they're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you don't want to do that. Like, why do you think I've been here for 10 years and didn't take the lead? I'm like, I don't know, but it's a higher position, so I got to go for it. So I got the lead position, and I did that for like 2 years, and then a supervisor position came available, and I like went for that, and I became a supervisor. And this is administrative supervisor, not like the doctors and shit. And it was so stressful. It was so freaking stressful. Especially my boss. And during that time frame, you probably didn't hear about it, but it was big news out there. Phoenix VA had a veteran die in a waiting room, and that's when all this wait time stuff came up and all this stuff. Well, I remember when I was at the front desk, I was getting overtime to clear all these people off waiting lists. And it was like, I was looking at my coworker, and like the whole clinic's dark except the lights at our desk. We're just wiping these wait list things clear. And they're just like, clear these lists. So come to find out, it was my supervisor that was doing that. So he tried to get me to do that when I was a supervisor. And I said, you know, Doug, can I have that? Can you just send me that in an email? He said, you don't need an email. Just have your people do this. I'm like, no, I can just go ahead and send that to me in an email. And he wasn't having it. And I was like, this is a bunch of, I was just, and it was just so stressful. And the worst part was, as I moved up, I was farther away from the vets. Like if I was dealing with a vet, I was dealing with a pissed off vet because they got whatever reason. So I didn't think about it. I could have said I want to go back and be at the front desk, but I just quit. And I worked for the water company, which I don't know anything about. um, I moved back to Ohio, and I worked building landing gear for Boeing. I didn't know anything about that. Got fired from that. Yeah, I got fired from the water company. I got fired from the landing gear company. Something about drinking. I don't know. But after I got, so right around the time I got fired from the landing gear place, I got my 100% disability. So yeah, I was fully retired by 50.
Wow. Well, I mean, there's after all the work you put in, it's well deserved. And glad to know after all you've been through, you've got 100% disability. I've seen guys that in your line of work that don't have 100, and I'm like, geez. And I've seen guys that were actually didn't even see combat that have 100% disability, and that's another
When I
thing.
first retired from the Army, when I first retired, you go through the VA as part of your retirement. I was 30%. They gave me 30%. I'm like, and because I don't know about other special ops guys, but in the Rangers, like you don't go to sick call, like you just don't do it. Like you take your Motrin, you drink your water, and you suck it up. So in my 20 years, my medical file was like that big. It was the same folder I got when I joined the Army. And I went to the VA room or briefing, whatever, and these guys, these dudes had binders of medical records. I'm like, damn. Like, so if I would advise anyone that's going to retire, is make sure you got your medical records squared away. But now they do this thing on it's all electronic now. It's all like before when I retired. It's still in 2011, everything was still paper copy. Now it's all like online. But yeah, definitely if you're listening, you're going to retire, get your VA stuff straight. Because it took me 7 years to get 100.
Oh man. Well, we have coming up on the 3-hour mark. We have
I told you go fast.
had a wonderful coverage here, and I'm sure there is stuff we did not get into. So I always tell our veterans, if you'd like to come back on, we always are more than welcome to have you back on to share with us. We love having recurring guests come back on. So you always have a welcome spot to come back and share with us and talk with us.
You might see me because we cover everything. Maybe we can get a little fine tuning in.
Well, I just want to thank you for me, everybody watching live, and everybody that's going to end up watching on down the line. Thank you for joining us today. It meant the world getting to hear all of this Ranger history, and I'm hopefully going to be able to get some more on the Rangers during the GWAT. We've been learning about them in Vietnam, but you guys during the GWAT, God Almighty, y'all are carrying the water pail and then some. So thank you for all you did for the country, your service, and for coming on and sharing your history and the unit history with us. It means a great deal to us all.
Oh, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Guys, let me blab for 3 hours.
Oh no, God, this is what we're here for. This is what we are here for. Well, guys, I suppose we are gonna call it a day. We covered it all. If y'all do have questions from any of the stuff, if you didn't watch live, get them over to me, and I'll try and get them over to Mr. Dave and see if he'll answer them for me the best he can, and I'll shoot them back to y'all. And everybody just keep an eye out, and I think we've got a show tomorrow. So everybody keep an eye out. Again, Mr. David, thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.